For millions of anglers nationwide, crappie fishing is a southern USA phenomenon. On this week's episode of Fishing 411 TV, Jake Romanack enlists the crappie fishing knowledge of tournament professional Mike Sixes. Mike is an offshore tackle pro staffer who often trolls the Awesome Crappie Board on Hoover Reservoir, located near Columbus, Ohio. This unique fishery limits anglers to using a 9.9 horsepower outboard or smaller. The outboard restriction might have slowed down our crew a few miles per hour, but it certainly didn't prevent them from showcasing one of the best crappie fisheries the North has to offer.
Let's see here, Mike. Looks like I might have one on the outside board. Swing that right over top. Ran this lead a little bit further back. This is that mag lip that I'd put on the outside here.
It's a good sign for the mag lip.
Mike brings me to a secret spot, and I think we just barely got the lines in. We're already catching fish. That's a good sign.
Glad I could do my part.
I think we're going to have a lot of fun today.
Yes. Yeah, these fish, they're enjoyable to catch. Good size, you know, a lot of fun. They're just, you know, fantastic.
Keep them coming. Perfect.
There
That's a
you go.
nice fish. Well, that is what we are after today. We are after crappies. And Mike was kind enough to come and show us a really cool trolling bite for crappies here in Ohio. We're on the Hoover Reservoir today, and it's a great crappie fishery, and it's one of those crappie fisheries where trolling is a great way to target these fish. And so that's what we're going to do today, is show you exactly how to target crappies trolling with smaller planer boards, smaller tackle, and have a pile of fun. Going on there, Mike?
Yes, I do.
Here, I'll pull the board off for you. Oh yeah.
Yeah, look at this one.
That's a good one right there.
Look at this one. Yeah, these are the ones you like to get. Right there.
Grab the net for you. And yeah, this is a good fish, Mike. Oh yeah. Now that is what I came down to Ohio to see right there. That's cool, buddy. That's a nice crappie. Fish of that size. That is cool right there.
And my wife will be very happy because that is the lure that she picked out. I told her would never catch a fish.
Isn't that the way it goes?
That's the way it goes.
Yeah, that is a gorgeous fish. They're thick too. It's
yeah,
like
very
thick in
thick.
the shoulder.
Yep.
I don't know anyone that loves crappies that wouldn't be obsessed with that fish right there. That is a good crappie.
Crappie they're an aggressive fish, and what you'll find is that the smaller crappie, they'll stay on trees, on stumps, on brush piles, and they'll stay together. Your larger crappie, you know, your 12 inchers, 13 inchers, they feel more comfortable. They don't have the pressure from predators. They'll go out and they do a lot more roaming. And that's what makes this technique, running planer boards, so effective in the sense that you can go and chase those fish down. You can get to where they're at. You know, you're not in one spot, not fishing, you know, a few fish off of one brush pile. I'm out looking for every fish that's out there that's roaming. I want these bigger crappie that I can go find that are, they're coming up to feed on what I have to present to them.
It's hard to beat those big old mouths like that. That's cool. That's a nice fish. It's a good eater size there.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Pull that fish up and show them off, Mike. That is a beautiful fish. We're gonna go into detail exactly how we're doing this because it's cool. It's something a little bit different. You know, it's gotten really popular with crappie fishermen is trolling. And obviously we're Great Lakes guys, so when I think of walleye fishing, I think of trolling. That's what we do, right? But in the crappie world, the trolling game has really started to take off. And we've actually designed a planer board for offshore tackle called the Awesome Crappie Board, designed specifically for this trolling for crappies.
This one's a white crappie, the last one was black. This one actually has the bars running down it so you can tell it's a white crappie.
Very cool.
Crappie are a very prolific breeder, and to take fish out of the lake is not a bad thing, especially when you're catching, you know, the 9 and 10 inchers, 11 inchers. Go ahead and take those home. A lot of people are concerned about keeping 30 fish a day here in Ohio per person. It's not a big deal. There are crappie everywhere. Go ahead and take those 9, 10, 11 inchers. You know, those are great eaters. Put the big ones back.
Special considerations provided by Bill Lewis Lures. Special considerations are provided by Procure, ruthlessly effective bait scents.
Okay, so the time has come that we have to reset and get this line back out. I'm going to show you exactly what we're doing today. We're actually fishing 2 baits. We're fishing a crankbait on our main line, and then up from that main line we have a 3-way swivel going to a jig. And basically what's happening is we're using the crankbait to get us down to depth. It's kind of a 1-2 punch. The crankbait is getting us down to depth. The jig is also there. So that fish has 2 options. They can either eat the crankbait or they can eat the jig. Now in this case, basically all we're doing is putting it all in the water, and we're going to let that bait out just like you would let out a flatline crankbait or a flatline jig. The nice thing about running it on a 3-way setup like we're running today is it gives that fish both options, whether they want the crankbait or they want the jig. And we're going to go ahead and let this bait out. And what we're doing is we're using the Precision Trolling Data app to figure out what our depths are and where these crappies are. We're marking a lot of fish. We're marking fish high, we're marking fish low, and everywhere in between on the water column. And the key is today is we're trying to find these fish that are feeding. And so we're varying our lead lengths. We're running some up high and some a little bit deeper. But by using the Precision Trolling app, we can figure out exactly what depth these fish are at to be able to dial them in and catch as many fish as possible.
There we go. We got another one here, Jake. Let's see what we can do with this one. Bring him in. As you can see, that crappie's right up on top back there.
The inside board's making pretty easy. There's nothing for that fish to get into. There we go.
He wanted to show off a little bit,
He was showing off a little bit. I'm grabbing that. Keep him coming. Nice fish. Very nice fish.
Yeah, we got us a black crappie. And as you can tell, there's no bars on this one. This is just, you hear a lot of guys call them specks. Down south they'll call them specks because, as you can see,
yeah, when you see them side by side like that, there really is no comparison, is there? I mean, you got either the stripes or the specks on them like that.
Yes, very much so. And generally, these black crappie, they seem to be more aggressive. They may be smaller than the whites, but when it comes pound for pound, they're more of a beast.
Gotcha. And I'm going to go ahead and hook up this planer board here, and this is the Awesome Crappie Board from Offshore Tackle. It's a little bit smaller than our traditional OR12 size planer board. And when it comes to this crappie fishing, it's a great size board. Again, we're targeting smaller fish, so a little bit smaller board, easier to set. One of the really nice features of the Awesome Crappie Board is one board fishes on both sides of the boat, meaning that you're not buying a right planer board and a left planer board. All you have to do is take the arm itself, and you can pop that arm off, and you can easily swing this, switch over to the other side of the boat. So you're buying one planer board that you can fish on the right side of the boat or the left side of the boat. And take that for me, Mike. I'm going to go ahead and catch this fish right here. Trying to get lines set back out. Mike's nice enough to grab the rod for me. Feels like a pretty heavy fish.
And I'll go ahead and get that board for you.
You talk about staying busy. You've kept me on my feet since we got out here, that's for sure.
Well, that was the goal from the start, and hopefully we can keep it going all day.
Nice fish. This one's on the jig, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Here we go.
This is the reason I do that. It's the reason I run a jig and a crankbait. That Fin Spin Pro, it's fantastic. Don't even put a trailer on it. You don't need any kind of a twister tail jig or anything. Just works out great. Another whitefish, another white crappie.
Very cool. You know, when you think about trolling, a lot of times you think about either fishing jigs or you're fishing crankbaits. And in this case, we're fishing a three-way setup and fishing both. We're using the crankbait to get us down to depth, and right above that in a three-way setup, we have a jig on there. So you're giving the fish both options. Now this particular fish wanted a jig, but we'll catch lots of fish on crankbaits today as well. Yes. And it's kind of that 1-2 punch that's hard to beat.
You can't beat it. It's fantastic. You know, I love this way. It's been productive for quite a while.
You know, now we've switched directions again. Basically what we're doing is we're just kind of going in a circle here. We got an area where there's fishing. It seemed like when we first started this morning, going north was a better troll. And we just did a north troll and it was pretty slow. And we turned around and did a south troll, and now here we are catching fish again.
Picking up fish, yes.
It's the cool thing about crappies is that they are picky fish. When you think about crappies, is they have an attitude. They're worse than a walleye when it comes to that attitude. So it's fun trying to figure them out because they're ever changing.
Yeah, you have to be very flexible. You know, you got to be able to go and give the fish what it wants, take advantage of what he's offering you, and you bring those fish in.
Let's see here. Keep him coming. There we go. There you go. It's a nice white crappie there. A little small, and then he's going to go back. That's the future here on the Hoover Reservoir. Very cool.
Special considerations are provided by Precision Trolling Data and the Lake St. Clair Walleye Association. Special considerations provided by the Ultimate Sport Show Tour, Michigan's elite sport shows. Eagle Claw presents the 411 on fishing.
I'm sitting back here at the back of the boat by my downriggers, and a lot of people I think who own downriggers already recognize that a downrigger is the ultimate depth control aid. And what I mean by that, through the use of a downrigger, you can get to a very specific depth time and time again. You can replicate those depths and replicate those fishing successes. And so I think just about everybody agrees you can't beat that when it comes to a downrigger. But I also believe there's a lot of people that simply don't realize you don't have to fish just one line on a downrigger. Using a technology known as a stacker release, it's possible to fish not one line, but actually two fishing poles and two separate lines off from one downrigger weight and one downrigger. Now the beauty of this is being able to put two lures in the water is of course going to double your chances of catching a fish. Also, it allows you to stagger your depths. You could have one lure deeper and one lure a little shallower, so you could be fishing at two different depth levels, which also is an advantage. The third advantage is it allows you to experiment with lures. You could have different lures if you wanted, and it also allows you to experiment with colors, so you could have different colors. So when you add all this up, running two lines on one downrigger really is effective, and it really makes a lot of sense. Particularly on those days when the downriggers are catching the lion's share of your fish, you definitely want to double down and use those stacker releases. Now, if you don't know what a stacker release is, I have one in my hand. They're very simple. It's coated wire, and I have two releases that are attached here. You can see one's on a longer lead, one is on a shorter lead, and they're attached here with just a snap, just a cross-lock snap. Now, what I'm going to do when I set this process up is I'm going to bring up the downrigger ball. I'm going to take my number one rod. I'm going to set it back about 30 or 40 feet with the spoon or whatever lure I'm using. I'm going to attach it to the release that's on the downrigger ball. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to lower that downrigger ball just about 10 feet or so. Then I'm going to take this snap and I'm going to open it up. I'm going to put it around the cable, the downrigger cable, and I'm going to close it. And then the short lead I'm going to put onto the cable. That's what's going to hold it in place on the cable. And then the long lead, I'm going to take my second rod, I'm going to let it back only about 10 feet. The reason I want one spoon back 30 or 40 feet and the other one back 10 feet is I want some separation so those spoons don't end up getting tangled when I hook a fish. So that line's going in here, that lure's back 10 feet. Now what I can do is I can put both of my rods and rod holders and I can slowly lower the downrigger down to the depth I want to fish. So let's say I've got a 10-foot separation between the top line and the bottom line. I want the downrigger ball at 50 feet. that top line is fishing at 40 feet. That way I have a 10-foot separation, I'm fishing more water, and when I get a bite, all I'm going to have to do is grab the rod that fish happens to be on, whether it's on the stacker or whether it's on the main line, it doesn't matter, and fight that fish. One of the tips that I'd also recommend that when you're using a stacker release, you don't want to use the bait clicker, just the bait clicker on your reel. You want to put your reel in the rod holders, you want to close the bail, then you want to back off on the drag and make sure that the bait clicker is engaged, so when you pull out line, it'll slip off your drag and it'll click a little bit. The beauty of that is when you lower your downrigger ball, those rods can go down together, line can slip off the reels, and it makes it real smooth and easy to fish a stacker release for trout, salmon, walleye, or whatever species you want to catch.
I literally just got that inside board set, and then the outside board starts going. So it's been all hands on deck to keep my 2 lines in the water today. A little bit of breeze is starting to pick up here this morning. That's probably be a good thing. It's been a beautiful day. You think about the south and you think about super hot weather. We've been really lucky today so far, and it's been absolutely gorgeous weather. And the crappies are still hungry. Got 2 on, buddy.
Oh, we got us a double.
Yeah.
All right, now let me show you on this. When I get this situation, get my back one first and come up and pick up my front one.
That's so cool. So here we are talking all day about the 1-2 punch, whether they like the jig or they like the crankbait, but in a perfect situation, they like it both, and you get 2 on. That's really cool. Let's see, this is a little bit smaller one on the crankbait, looks like. The one on the jig, it's a lot nicer fish. Tell you what we're gonna do, buddy. We're gonna take this one off and get him back, just a little guy. And we're going to show off the one on the jig because that's a little bit better quality fish.
I believe we were just talking about the fact that the number of little fish that I've caught on the jig, on the crankbait, and the big fish I've caught on jigs.
Right. You see, I'm a big boy, 6'5",
Yeah.
right? You see that fish up against my paw, you know, this is a beautiful fish.
Special considerations are provided by Cisco Fishing Systems and Striker brands. Go early, go late, go prepared. Special considerations provided by Fishhawk Electronics and Daiwa Corporation.
That's a much bigger crappie than I thought. I saw him rolling and I thought it was a catfish, Mike. A little bit better fish.
Yeah, that's a real nice one.
That's a very nice fish. Nice.
Real nice fish.
Yeah, I saw that fish rolling back there and it looked like a couple catfish that we had caught to come in rolling like that.
Yeah, they will. I have noticed with having the swivels on these and with those crankbaits.
That's a beautiful fish right there. That is so cool. Targeting these fish is a little bit different way. You know, when you think of crappie fishing, you either think of like slip bobber fishing, or what's really popular in the south is spider rigging. But trolling for them is a great way to target these fish, especially when they're out here. You look around, we're not necessarily fishing any specific structure. There's some breaks that we're following the edges of, but we're pretty much out here in the middle of nowhere. It's summertime, these fish spread out over these flats, and it's a great way to get a lot of lures out there and cover a lot of water. All right, I'm gonna unhook the board here for you.
All right.
Looks like a good fish, a really good fish.
We'll take it.
They're just so thick here, man. It's cool.
Yeah, it really is.
That's one of the better fish of the day right there. That is a really good fish, Mike.
Caught that off the jig, didn't we?
Look at that bucket mouth.
Oh my goodness!
That's what a crappie's supposed to look like. Wow.
Yeah, come to Ohio, folks.
That is a beautiful white crappie there.
That's a beautiful fish. Yeah.
Very cool.
Wow.
You just see how healthy these fish are. You know, we kind of talked about this, but this is summertime. It's the middle of summer. So this is not when you would think you're going to catch big, thick crappies. You think of that in the springtime.
Yes.
But you just see how healthy these fish are. I mean, just thick in the shoulders. Very, very healthy fish.
That's a great fish. Yeah, that fish right there, that would probably be over a pound and a half, you know, pushing pound and 3/4.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah, absolutely.
in springtime.
You know, we've had a lot of success today with a bait called the maglip. Now, if you've watched Fishing 411 before, you've seen us fish the maglip. It's literally caught everything. Now, crappie fishing with the maglip is something that I haven't done very much of, and so when we came down here, I was like, I want to give it a try, I want to put it out, and we've done very well on this particular bait today. We've just downsized to a smaller presentation. We went to the 2.5 maglip, and we caught fish on that as well, so it's a little bit smaller profile. The nice thing when you go down to the smaller size bait, we actually get rid of the belly hook. From the factory, we don't put that belly hook on there, so there's just one single treble hook on the back, and of course the maglip comes in a ton of different colors, which is just perfect for crappie fishing.
Let's pull this outside board and get that in. Pull it over top of the inside board. This one feels pretty good. I'm not sure exactly how good it is, but we'll see when we get it in. He's coming across the top of the water there.
Looks like a good fish. Go ahead and pop the board off here for you. Perfect. Keep them coming just like that, Mike, and I'll get them netted for you. Oh yeah, that's a good big mouth on that one. Yep, nice fish, Mike. Mike, that's another good fish right there. Another one on the jig. It's been really cool to see giving those fish that 1-2 punch and allowing these fish to choose what they want. It's been super effective today. Hey, my name's Jake Romanack, and you've been watching Fishing 411. We'll see you here same time, same place next week.
Closed captioning is provided by Lakeside Motorsports, Michigan's premier marine and power sports company. Fishing 411 is brought to you by Offshore Tackle, Lowrance Electronics, Starcraft Marine, Yamaha Outboards, Yakima Bait Company, Niagara Falls, USA, Smooth Moves, Bill Lewis Lures, and Jay's Sporting Goods.
Every time he gets close, he takes a dive. Oh, there it is. Look at that dude. Wow. And look what he's on. He's, you know, didn't even go for the...
Oh, he was on the jig, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's on the jig.